We have someone joining from South Padre. I'm not jealous at all. I bet it is nice and sunny there too. And Westfield, Indiana. Great to have you guys.
Nice.
I love seeing all of the locations, like all, across.
Hmm.
Always such a I think this is such a good opportunity to even just interact with each other too. We've got Cleburne. Thanks for joining. I think I'm just going to wait a few more minutes because it looks like we still have a pretty consistent stream of people joining in. And Joshua, thanks for joining. I know everyone's excited because, of course, we have one of our favorite Wednesday webinar presenters here today, Micah Gaudet, who is talking about AI. And I'm always so excited, Micah, because every single time you do a Wednesday webinar, I write down notes and then I get to play after and find new tools and new solutions. It's been super helpful for me too. And I know it's been helpful for a lot of local governments out there. So we really appreciate what you're doing.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely. And I think we're probably at a good point to go ahead and get started. So I just want to remind everyone who's recently joined, please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. We love to hear from you. You can also use that feature to ask us any questions as we go, and we'll get to as many of those questions as we can at the end of the presentation. But I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Micah.
All right. Well, thank you, Krista, and the real some of the workers behind the scenes, Lisa back there. Chris and I were talking in the green room before about how much work Lisa does. So our hats off to Lisa. Spam thank you, Lisa, in the chat there because she does a
Do it.
phenomenal job. Yeah. So this Wednesday webinar, if you were part of our Wednesday webinar series last year, we went through a number of different tools for different use cases in local government, right? And so we had a lot of fun doing that. This year, talking to Mike Maury and the team at SGR, we're gonna do something kind of similar but a little bit unique. And what we're gonna do is kind of in 3-month installments, we are going to take something. So today we're looking at writing with AI, how we elevate writing. So this week, this month's Wednesday webinar on AI is going to focus on some of the uncommon or less heard of writing tools and maybe how we can use that. Next Wednesday webinar for AI next month is going to focus on some of the legacy tools, ChatGPT, Claude, and really elevate that, kind of take us the next step in that iteration. And then on the third, so they think of it in different quarters, on the third month Wednesday webinar, we're going to walk through how to apply those two things, the uncommon tools and the common tools together, and try to automate some workflows with that and show you how to do that. So if you're following AI and things like that, the real trend nowadays is within automation and agentic AI. I don't know if we'll get into agentic AI as much here, but we're going to try to showcase some automation tools you can do. So just a quick plug for y'all, you're going to want to come back on the monthly basis because we're going to kind of build off some concepts here and really want to attend every Wednesday webinar because they're phenomenal. The book reports, the different insights we get, they are just absolutely incredible. And if you can't get to a Wednesday webinar, they actually post it on SGR's YouTube channel. And so the ones I can't get to, I'll go back and watch on Thursday. And it's just as good Thursday as it is live on Wednesday, minus the chat. So that's always the detriment. So if you can attend live, it's great. But if you can't, watch that video, watch the rerun for yourself there. So with that being said, I'm going to share my screen here, and we are talking about writing. And specifically, how do we write with AI tools? What does that look like? So let me go like this here. Make sure that we are good when we are good. Perfect. All right, so talking about writing with AI, and I really want to emphasize that with AI part, and that's going to be really key, and I'll show you why that's key here in a second. So one of the things we want to do here is we what I want to do is kind of dismantle some of the perceptions and some of the maybe lack of understanding about AI. We get frustrated a lot of times with AI. And so sometimes we view AI as an automated writer, right? If I put a prompt into it, I'll receive perfect text. And then we get frustrated because oftentimes I don't get perfect text. And so I can get frustrated. I can say, okay, AI doesn't work for me or things like that. Or I try to think through that, oh, it must be my prompt, and I have to try to figure out the perfect prompt to unlock this writing tool, right? But what I want to ask is maybe we're thinking about AI writing all wrong. And maybe we need to rethink how we're thinking about writing with AI. So maybe, just maybe, the problem isn't with AI. Maybe it's our approach with AI. And so what I want to think through is, okay, what if instead of looking to AI to write for us, we had AI write with us? And that's what I want to focus on in this kind of session, is thinking of, okay, what does it look like to have AI as a co-writer, a co-author on things instead of just having it be the author. And I think you have a lot of value with that if you have AI with that. We talked about that last year, right? The human in the loop idea. These are really helpful things. Just last week, or a couple weeks ago, I think it was now, I was over at Arizona State University. They have a certified public management certification program. I was able to teach over there, and we did an example of using a team. We broke up into different teams, and we had one team that was supposed to find funding sources for a example CIP project, and we had another team that used only AI to come with examples of funding sources. And what we found in that example is that the human team, the ones that were only using, no AI tools, came up with a couple of things that the AI team didn't come up with. And the AI team came up with a couple of things that the human team didn't come up with. But when you combine both things together, that's where you get the full breadth, right? You're able to leverage the experience along with the breadth of knowledge that AI has. So when it comes to writing with AI, right, we want to enhance communication. And there's a reason, one of the things here too, I want to point out is that there's a reason why these generative AI systems are called conversational AI. It's conversation because it's designed to mimic and designed to flow like human conversation. And so with anything, conversation, communication is such an important skill set in local government. We do this all the time, whether it be with internally with our own staff, externally with our constituents, or with outside vendors, with projects, anything like that. Even within higher levels of government, if you're communicating with maybe a congressman or a senator on a grant application or anything like that, communication is key to local government. So we really have to make sure we're doing it the right way. And so part of the challenge is that there's a lot of time it takes to write effectively. It takes time. We have to make sure we're professional in what we're doing. We have to make sure we're accurate. And this is, I think, where some areas where AI can help come in. We can enhance our communication tone. We can enhance our professionalism. We can enhance tone and creativity. We can do things like come up with different ideas of how to word something or things like that. Just the other day, I was working on a legal document, and I had to adjust a couple of things in there to make sure it was all legalese. And I'm not a lawyer, don't even play one on TV. So I had ChatGPT help me rewrite a couple sections. And of course, after those sections were done and finalized, I sent them over to our legal team for review. And that way they have the right eyes on it to make sure it's actually applicable. But 9 out of 10 times, ChatGPT does a phenomenal job, and most of the time, my attorney and on our legal team in the city says, "Yep, that looks good to go," and it's exactly what we would have said anyways. So there's actually some real benefits to that. But again, the process is use AI, use a tool like AI to kind of come up with the idea, to refine or polish it, to put in language, especially if it's a style like something within a contract or something that I'm not intimately familiar with. AI can be a great tool to help you out with that, and then pass it to your legal team for review, right? If you're in a policy with AI, it's a great tool, but pass it to HR to make sure they have eyes on it and review it and can make sure they put it in context. So let me go to the next one here. So a couple things for crafting effective prompts. And so we think of prompts as kind of the tool to unlock the engine that's going to write for us. And I really want to make sure you guys understand these tools are becoming more and more sophisticated in terms of their ability to interact as it would with the regular human, right? So the idea of talking to it like a human is really, really applicable. And so don't get caught up on whether or not you have the right prompt or not. There are workarounds around that. There are ways to refine and iterate. So I wouldn't spend a lot of time worrying about the right prompt. But the key with prompting is basically be straightforward with specific instructions, right? That's basically the gist of it. Specificity is key. So some of the things also that is helpful is, give numbers, like for instance, example, draft a 200-word summary of our city's new recycling program with a persuasive tone, right? That 200-word or qualifiers like that is helpful. Or for instance, if you're looking for ideas for a new maybe an event you're putting on or something like that at the library, instead of just saying, hey, what are some ideas for a library after school event? Say, give me 10 ideas for a library after school event. That can be really helpful. Also, don't put in things like open or closed-ended questions, right? So yes, no questions doesn't do a great job at that. Instead, use words like, instead of saying, is this a good idea or is this a bad idea? Do something like explain why this is a good idea or explain why this is a bad idea. So those more open-ended questions, you'll get a better response. You get a better response when you have those qualifiers in there, like 500 words or 10, list of 10 or things like that. AI, ChatGPT, and other AIs do a really, really good job when having those parameters. The other thing too is focus on tone. So the tone of the prompt can influence the AI's response as well. And so if you want a persuasive tone, indicate that in the prompt, right? And this could be really helpful, especially if you're doing things like social media posts or things like that, where you want to persuade a certain action or a certain result. So maybe you're looking at a social media post on a construction project and you want people to drive more carefully in that construction zone. That kind of emphasizing that in the draft will really help you out, and the prompt really help you out with that first draft. And then finally, and this is probably the most important one, is iterate and refine. Remember, one of the things I said last year, and I'll repeat again probably ad nauseum this year, is that AI is going to give you about 60 to 70% of the solution, and you're going to have to go out and find the other 40 to 30%. But again, 60% of the work, you sign me up for that all day long, I'll take that deal. So just iterate, refine, make sure it's in your right voice. Don't accept it just because don't do the whole thing we joke about, good enough for government work. Don't do that. Just make sure it is really what you want your style, what you want your voice to say, and remembering, especially when you're writing for a local government, remember that you're bearing the weight of local government and that whole organization onto the text that you're writing. So you want to make sure it's really polished and refined and communicates exactly what you want it to communicate. So a couple of things I've learned in kind of how to write within AI and how to use AI as a writer with you as a co-author as opposed to just an author. And so the first thing you want to do, and this is just basic, this is going back to writing 101 in your college class or even your high school classes, right? First step, generate an outline. And I gotta admit, sometimes I get lazy and sometimes I don't generate the outline because I just want to get the thing done. But I find that if I take that extra step, I take the extra time to generate an outline, it produces a way better result. It does it for me when I'm writing personally, and the same thing here when it works with AI. So maybe our English teachers were actually onto something, and all you English teachers out there or English majors out there are saying, yes, this is exactly true. But generate an outline, then flesh out each section, right? After the outline is established, use AI tools to expand on each section. So fill in the details, arguments, all the things like that. And then after that, look at the tone and clarity, make sure it's the tone and clarity is accurate for what you're trying to communicate. And then, work in the AI suggestions with your expertise, right? Balance those two things out and make sure you're leveraging the expertise. So if you're writing a post about, or writing something to council on a road construction project, for example, you want to make sure you're leveraging the expertise of those who are actually doing the work. Maybe your public works director, your traffic engineers, or things like that, just to make sure you're balancing that expertise. And one of the things that AI is great at is, a lot of these times with these technical things like, road construction or intersection change or things like that, it's easy to get bogged down within the technical jargon. And what AI can help do is it can translate that down to a level that, those of us like myself who are not engineers, are not experts in road construction can understand. And as the end consumer, you got to understand that most people out there who are reading this post are not going to be engineers. So having a level where it's not so technical and not so jargony can be really, really helpful. Let me grab next page here. So just some practical tips for writing with AI. We'll go through some examples with some tools I want to introduce you guys to is, break down the writing process, right? use AI. You don't necessarily need to use AI for the whole entire process of your document you're creating or your writing sample you're creating. If you already have a great sample, if you already have something that you already like, if you have something that where it's 90% complete, you just need a couple things, couple tweaks in there, use AI for those couple things there, right? That is totally fine to do. You don't need to reinvent the entire wheel just to use AI. You can leverage what you already have and experiment with different approaches, right? Test various prompts, see what works, see what doesn't work, and see what you like and don't like. Try that out, right? And then leverage AI for feedback. AI is a great QA QC, a great editor, I find. And so sometimes it's helpful too is take an existing document that you already have or a draft you have and throw that through AI and ask for feedback, ask for suggestions. It can be really helpful. And then finally, don't over rely on AI, right? Combine this with your institutional knowledge, with your expertise, with your local knowledge of what language would work and what wouldn't work with your community. You're gonna know that best, better than AI will. And so, don't over rely on the AI's output. Combine that with your human in the loop expertise. Because like the example we saw with, I mentioned before with ASU, if we had just taken just the human response, we would have missed something with what AI found. And if we had just taken the AI output, we would have missed some things, some funding sources from what the team human came up with. And it's weird to call two teams that are totally human and team AI, but that's just how we frame that. So now I want to dive into a couple of lesser known writing tools. So I'm going to stop my screen share here and grab another one. But I want to show you a couple things that I think will be really helpful and some tools that maybe you've heard of, maybe not heard of. Now, these are all really designed for business writing or policy writing. There's a lot of different AI tools that do different things. A lot of the AI tools out there, writing tools specifically, are things like SEO or creative or marketing content or things like that. So I really wanted to focus on AI tools that were good at business writing, professional writing, and policy writing. And that's what these tools are going to show you are. If you're interested in seeing things like SEO or marketing or things like that, there are tools out there. I'm just not going to talk about them today. So if you want to go find them, please feel free to do that on your own time there. So the first one I want to show here is a tool called Jasper. Jasper is a really fun AI writing tool, and there's a different options you can do here when you're doing this. And so we'll go over here and we're going to create content. I'll pop up a window here, which gives me time to grab a sip of coffee. And you have different ideas or categories you can do, right? So you have social media marketing, product marketing, all the different stuff like that. So on this one, we're going to do is we are going to write a job description. So job description. And we're going to look here. And so here's the job description. You can upload when you're starting Jasper, it lets you actually bring in your brand voice using your website. So for this one, I just used my website I have. But you can do this when you sign up for Jasper. You can bring in your city website and it'll try to learn your brand voice based on your city website, based on the text in your city website, which is super, super interesting. So for this one, let's go with a wastewater treatment plant operator 2. Okay, responsibilities. And I'm just going to put in here manages the treatment plant, checks for compliance with regulations, ensures plant works smoothly, and that the output is A plus, helpful for A plus affluent water. So next, qualifications. And here you can see basically what this is doing with this one, if you think this through, is this is helping you create that outline, right? So this is helping you create the outline here. Qualifications, and I'm just going to do this right there. So you can also click that as well, and you can do it that way. We could also do this right here and do regenerate response and put it there as well. So now we're going to, any information we want to add? I don't think so. This will be fine for now. And let's generate this. I'll be take off the that one. So now it'll go through and it'll draft a job description for us. So this is pretty good, right? A draft job description, wastewater treatment plant operator seeking blah blah blah, operate, some key responsibilities, required qualifications, what we offer, and so this is more of a job posting than a job description. So obviously you have to edit this and change it to make sure it's relevant and things like that. You can also change the text. You can change headers. You can add files or add a new document to this, a new campaign. But again, this is designed to write within a professional description, and so that can be really helpful that way. We could also do something here too. I'll do another example with Jasper to show another one is, let's say, write a policy for computer usage. And all the pop-ups on Jasper AI looks like. So write a policy for computer usage, purpose, and we'll just generate these responses this way. Audience, and we'll say employees, key guidelines, generate response. I'm just doing it this way. Again, what I like about this Jasper thing right here, again, because I can go in here and edit things right here. So the primary purpose of this computer usage policy is to outline acceptable use of, I'll just change company to city, right? So you can edit that right within here within the outline. And again, generate now. And here is the limit here. And what I like about this, once it's done going through, I'll show you this. So I changed the word company to city on this first page right here on purpose. I didn't do it anywhere else. You saw that. And it automatically put those things in there. So which is helpful, right? So it says city technology, resources provided by the city. So it inferred that, okay, if you're talking about city in the policy, purpose, the purpose section of the policy, you need to do that throughout the rest of it as well too. So super, super helpful. So that's Jasper. I want to show you another one as well. Jasper is phenomenal. I like how it works. I like that it's model having it's helpful for me because it forces me to write outlines, which typically makes my writing better if I have that outline like we talked about before. And so that's why I like Jasper a lot for writing stuff because, again, that extra step to think through my outline is really, really helpful. Okay, next we can do is Writer. Writer.com is another good one. And for this one, again, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to write a job description. So I'll put in here job description. And they have one already, a template ready to go. And this one, again, do the same thing. Waste water treatment plant operator 2. And we'll change this to treatment. There we go. Company called, and we'll do city of Joshua, Texas. We'll just say local government. There's some optional things here. So you can also change the voice. So you can set up a custom voice as well too. So again, the same thing. You can have it replicate your style, your tone, your voice as a city, which is super helpful. So for now, we're just going to keep this as writer voice, generate the text. I'll think that through here. So here's the description, qualifications, responsibilities, all the stuff like that. And so you can see this one is not as maybe not as thorough, not as well polished as the Jasper one is, but there's some things you can take from here too as well. So I don't this one talks about a valid Texas water and wastewater operator's license or ability to obtain it within 6 months. Talks about proficient using SCADA systems as well. Again, some helpful things to have in there. Just some ways to do that, right? Super, super helpful. We can also look at here too. You can show suggestions. So here we can look at some suggestions of what to do. So we can replace this guy right here. This is good. We'll ignore that one. So you can actually go through again right here, Joshua. You can add that comment there. That's helpful as well. And this is extremely helpful if you're uploading a document maybe and using AI to QA QC a document or to edit a document. This is super, super helpful. So the other one too, we'll do another example too of a policy writing. So here we'll create a document from scratch, and we're going to say write a policy on a computer use for the city of Joshua, Texas. Here we go. And do this right here. We'll keep writing. And here we have it all right here. It's giving us this whole entire policy here, which is, again, helpful. I also find it helpful if I have the time to do this. It's very helpful to go through and use multiple AI tools, AI writing tools, because sometimes different AI writing tools will have different things that pulls up or things like that. And so having a variety of ones can be very helpful to get a broader scope of something. I do think that's really, really helpful. And again, the same thing here. We can look at the suggestions. So we can hit here and look at different suggestions of how to refine this. So I could take this out, edit all right in here. Another example too, I think is helpful is these AI tools compared to, unless you have, I guess they call the plus subscription to ChatGPT, this is something that's extremely, extremely helpful to be able to edit right within the document. So you can add your brand voice. You can add different things you think are important to this policy right within here, and then refine and edit it all within one platform, which is extremely, extremely helpful. So another one too we would think of is sometimes it's hard too because the way AI writes is very telling, right? You can tell when it's AI versus something else. And so one of the things I think is helpful is, okay, how do we make sure, and every city will have their own policies on this here. So I might get in trouble for showing you this, but I think it's a helpful tool. But confer within your city staff, within your team, about whether a tool like this is something that you want to pursue as a city, as an organization. So I'm going to let that disqualifier there here. If I get in trouble here, please don't, please understand I'm just showing you a resource, and I'm not necessarily not advocating for it. It's something I just personally find helpful for myself. So here I'm going to do the same thing in ChatGPT. I'm going to just have it write a policy. So write a computer use policy for the city of Joshua, Texas. So it's going to grab this right here, going to write the policy for us. And this is all generated with AI. And there's some things in here. If you're familiar with AI content or AI writing, there's just some giveaways, right? Some things that the way they word things are kind of unique in terms of sentence structure, in terms of how it flows in the AI system versus how we typically write on our own. That are some giveaways for AI. So once this is done, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to open up something called an AI detector. Okay. And I'll show you what this is here. So this is just AI detector 0GPT. It's a free one. You can use this. And I'll show you how if I copied this whole thing in here, it'll look like it's generated from AI. And we've got so many pop-up ads. Let's try this again. Here we go. All right. So I'm going to copy this whole entire thing all the way up here. Control C. I'm going to put this in here. Detect text. So 94.15% idea that this is AI generated. Okay. So pretty accurate. It's actually 100% AI generated, but pretty accurate. So let me show you this though. This is a way in which you can actually do things to humanize your AI text, improve readability and things like that. So this is a called undetectable AI. Confer with if you're in college or doing some kind of writing like that, please confer with your educators about whether or not this is applicable or helpful or something that's allowed. So again, some very clear disclaimers here in this one. But if you're using it for a city, I want to make it human sounding. I think it's a great tool to use. So Readability, for this one, I'm just going to do high school. I'm going to paste my text here, allow, and here it is. So here is this, and I'm going to humanize it. So this is going to work in the background, and it's going to go through and try to humanize the text. And after this is done, we're going to run this again through that zero GPT and see if it was able to bypass the AI detection. And the reason why this is helpful is not because you can bypass human detection at all. So that's I could care less whether or not something is generated by AI or human, as long as the content is relevant and accurate. But what I like about it is what it helps it do is it helps it write it in more of a human style, right? As more, it's able to be better read and things like that by humans. And so that's why I think this tool is helpful. Whether or not it's detectable by an AI or not, again, not something that I really worried about in my day-to-day life. If you're in college, something you probably want to worry about. And again, talk to your advisors, talk to your deans and stuff like that to make sure that something like this is actually allowed by your university. So don't go up there saying that, hey, Micah said I could use this tool. Talk to your team first before using this tool. But I think this is helpful. So this is going to work in the background here. It's going to look at, basically rewrite this entire policy for us and put it in a human style. And so this is a really fun way and really easy way to be able to take AI generated content and again, humanize it and make sure it's relevant for your city and for your results and make sure it's readable, make sure it's understandable, and it's not filled with technical jargon or things like that. So here is the original submission, and here is the output. So we're going to take this right here. I'm going to copy this whole thing in here. This is the draft here. And we'll say you can humanize again if you want to, or things like that. So put this in here. And again, paste in there, detect text. And now we're down to 78.28% GPT, right? So we dropped about, will that be 20 points, I guess, within AI generated content. So again, it can be really helpful. Again, the point of it isn't necessarily that we want to have AI, undetectable AI per se, but again, emphasizing that human readability, right? If you go back and think through what are we trying to do with writing and communication as an organization, as a local government, as a department, as a person, what we want to be able to do, our goal should be to communicate effectively, right? That's the goal. It's not necessarily to have AI write it for us, even though there's some benefits to that. It's not necessary to try to avoid AI detection. The whole goal, especially if you're doing any kind of local government writing or communication with your team, with your external partners, the goal is communication, right? That is the absolute goal. So in everything we're doing, making sure that remains the top of mind, the top focus with our writing and leveraging AI tools, leveraging different things like Jasper, like Writer, like Undetectable, like ChatGPT. Another good one for a great writer is Claude, Gemini as well. All these different AI writing tools, they're helpful tools that allow us to communicate more effectively. And if they can't help us communicate more effectively, then don't use it, right? If you are just a phenomenal writer, you're very efficient, you do a lot of great things with how you're writing things, then maybe don't use AI for that. That's totally fine. If you're already good at it, my hat's off to you. I am not good at writing. It's something that I don't do a really great job at communicating effectively. And so these are why tools like this are really helpful. So a couple of the ones too, we'll go through a couple more examples here as well for our conversation here. Let's create something else as well. So again, create content, go back to Jasper. And for this one, let's write a social media post. Think that through. Okay. Platform. So you can choose different platforms here. And for this one, we'll just do Facebook because it's a very common one in local government. The theme of the post is road construction at the corner of Main and First Avenue, Main Street and First Avenue. We'll say that there's lane restrictions for 1 mile in the south to northbound lanes on Main Street. Drivers should be aware. And we'll also say that construction will take about 1 week for a utility repair in the intersection. So there we go. I'll generate that response here. There we go. Oh, that is not even close to what I said there. So I've messed that up. Let's go back here and just say road construction, North Main Street and First Avenue, lane restrictions on north and southbound lanes of Main. Construction should last about 1 week. And you can see with all my different spelling errors why I'm not a good writer. So next, what actions do you want to do this? So here's some good ones right here. I'll do these quick picks. This one, another call to action. So you can do multiple call to actions, or you can do different things like that. So you can do, we'll say for this one is sign up for text alerts on this project is our call to action. So next, add more information. We can also create images. We can do stuff like that. So we could add information here, urgency statement, hashtags, custom information, all that stuff. So here we'll have it generate. And there we go. So here is our lane restrictions. Adds a couple of emojis there. You can even add a link to, this is just a dummy link right here. So you can add a link for your text alerts, be helpful there. You can even go in here too, and I think you should be able to, you can go in here and add images as well. So maybe you have an image of the intersection you want to add there. So you could put an image of the intersection there as well too, and things like that. It could be super, super helpful. So let's try this again also within our writer tool. So again, we'll go back over here to writer. And we'll do social media post. Start our document from scratch. And we'll do the same thing here. I'm just going to copy this for the sake of time. I'm going to copy this from right here. Put this into writer, and I'll say social media post on road construction. Copy this whole thing and keep writing. So here's a social media post right here. North Main Street and First Avenue, lane restrictions. You can see this one's a little more short and sweet, which is somewhat helpful. So it depends on what kind of platform you want for that. I think Jasper's probably a better writer when it comes to social media posting. And so again, this one as well, you can even go back here and change the platform. So if you want to change this right here and make this a Twitter one, or maybe even a Nextdoor one, or you can have both at one time. So if we do, for instance, do Twitter, and we'll do here, next, and we'll generate this right here, generate now. And here's the one for Twitter, right? Or maybe you want to do something like for Nextdoor, which is a popular platform for information or passing information to communities. So Nextdoor, we'll do that one. So here again, the same thing there. Again, really, really helpful way. And the thing about these different platforms that I think is helpful is a lot of times it's in social media posting. This is probably just a matter of convenience and things like that, is we often use the same post and we just post it in different formats, right? Post it on Nextdoor, post it on Twitter, post it on Facebook, or things like that, right? But what we have to remember is that our audience on those three different platforms are different, right? And so the audience on Nextdoor, which is typically more of an engaged audience or things like that. If you're using Nextdoor, you're typically more engaged with your community, sharing things and things like that, compared to say Twitter, right? It's more of just kind of just scroll through and just see the updates, right? And so you want to make sure that what you're writing is tailored to your audience. Again, remember the goal of writing, whether it's AI or human writing, is that communication, is communicating to your audience. And so what I like about Jasper is that it understands that and is going to be able to articulate things based on the what it knows about the Nextdoor platform, what it knows about the Facebook platform, what it knows about the Twitter, or I guess it's called X now platform. My goal in 2025, my New Year's resolution is to be able to actually call Twitter X. So that's something I'm working on this year is to catch up with the times. It normally takes me about 6 months to even change the 4 to a 5. So I'm still writing like February 5th, 2024 a lot of times, just by a habit. So by June, I'll get that part down. But it takes me a while to remember that, oh yeah, we're in 25. So these are just some helpful ways. Again, what I like about these tools, this Jasper Writer, is I can change and edit things right in here. And so this is super, super helpful. I'm not having to copy it from a ChatGPT or a Claude and then put it in a Word document and then edit that way. I can do all my editing right within this platform, which is super, super helpful for me because sometimes I'll see something and I want to fix it right away. And by the time I have exported that to a Word document, I have completely forgotten where that sentence was or where that word was that I wanted to switch or change. And so this is extremely helpful. So with that being said, we are at 42 minutes after the hour. I'm going to stop my share and see if there are any questions or anything like that from our wonderful local government professionals out there.
So as always, Micah, awesome presentation, super educational, and really appreciate your time and expertise and you lending that to us. We did get a few really good questions in the Q&A. One of them is, do you have a top 5 list of writing prompts you usually use in your AI writing? With the parentheses that says, yes, I used AI to write this question.
Nice.
So
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Jeff asked that question. I think that might be one of my favorite questions asked so far in one of these.
So I'm going to give you the one magic prompt that will unlock all of your prompting, and you'll be able to write any prompt you want to in any subject. What you do is you put into ChatGPT, I don't know how to prompt you to say this. I want to say something like blah, blah, blah. Can you write the prompt for me? You do that, and the ChatGPT will write the prompt for you, and then you just copy and paste that. So that's I don't even have to give you 5. That's one. Just put in ChatGPT. I don't know how to prompt you on this. Can you help me write this prompt? And it'll do it for you. And it's way better than anything else you'll ever come up with. That's what I use. And so there's your one prompt to your one magic ring to rule them all.
Great suggestion. I know, Micah, one of the things that I've used ChatGPT for is when I'm not sure which AI tool would be the best, to use for whatever I'm trying to do, I'll ask ChatGPT, can you recommend the best AI tool for blah, blah, blah. And it'll give me a list and tell me why, for each one, which is awesome also.
Yes.
And along those lines, we had another question that said, are these paid tools you are using or are these free?
So the Jasper and Writer are paid tools. Jasper, I think, can't remember which one is which. One of them was like $15 a month. The other's $30 a month. So they are paid tools. The undetectable one, I think, is $20 a month as well too. So about that $15 to $30 a month price range is what those tools are. And you have annual subscriptions to it too. You can do, for instance, with Jasper, you can do an enterprise solution as well too. So you can have it for an entire team. There's options like that.
Awesome. Do you ever figure out which subscriptions you want to keep and which ones you want to let go of? Like after trying a few different ones, you're like, I really don't need this one. I like this one better. Or, have you encountered that at all?
So I've done that, especially with tax season rolling around. As I went through all my expenses in the tax year, I was like, I still have a subscription for that. I don't use that anymore. So that's typically, I'm way too late with that or the subscriptions. But there's a few I've used. Yeah, I use ChatGPT, I use Claude, and I'll typically grab 1 or 2 unusual tools like a Jasper.com for a couple months to play around with it, or different creative tools like that just to try it out. There's so much out there, and the one I heard a recommendation today about all the variety of tools and things like that is just to take one and play with it for a month. Or a lot of these times these companies have like 15-day trial periods or things like that. So just play with it for that 15-day trial period. See if you like it. If you don't like it, then just cancel the subscription on day 13. That way you don't have to pay for it. So leverage those free
Put
trials.
a reminder on your calendar so you
I,
don't forget like
I
I do.
Yep, that's exactly what I do. I make a reminder for day 12. If it's a 14-day trial period, day 12, there's a calendar reminder to, cancel that subscription or to redo it, depending where I'm at.
Love it. And we have one more question, and I think we can probably make this happen. It's a great question from Janet. She said, could you add a list of all of the platforms you've used and why you like them? That would be super helpful. And I know, Micah, you did something on LinkedIn, like a chart of some sort that I found really helpful, that you put out. This was probably like a few months ago now. I can't remember. And if it wasn't you and I'm attributing that to you, I apologize. I think it was you that put something out there. But I bet we could go back, excuse me, even go back through the videos, the Wednesday webinars we've done and compile a list and put that
Yeah,
out if
yeah,
you're okay with that. And
yeah.
Janet, hopefully that would be helpful for you, but I think that would be helpful for me as well, honestly.
It'd be helpful for me because I forget about some tools too as well. There's so many out there. I forget like, oh yeah, yeah.
There's some great tools out there. We also got Jeff said, thanks, go Packers.
Go pack, go, Jeff. Absolutely.
And Krista said, I love using ChatGPT to break down complicated processes in terms, especially being in city government using prompts like explain blank to me as if I was a 10-year-old. It does a great job.
That is actually such a great example there. That is such an important use case for AI is breaking down those complicated subjects. Um, it's really, really helpful. In fact, and one way to do it too, we've been playing with I've been having to teach my kid algebra. He's learning algebra in fifth grade right now in his school class, which it's been a long time since I've used algebra or anything like that. And so what I've been able to do is you can take a picture of the problem within ChatGPT, right? Just do a take a picture with your phone, upload into ChatGPT, and then have it explain to you, explain this problem and help me solve it as if I was a fifth grader or things like that. So it's a really helpful tool. There's so many use cases and examples of that just in personal life, explaining complicated terms like was mentioned or things like that. Extremely, extremely helpful.
That is really neat. I saw a use case. This was actually one of my friends that said she used ChatGPT. She took screenshots of a text message and uploaded it to ChatGPT and said, like, does it sound like they're upset with me? And I was like, so ChatGPT can infer emotion? That is wild. But she got a really valuable or insightful response. I don't remember the specifics of it, but it was interesting.
Yeah, and that's also a really good helpful tool when it comes to like looking at social media comments or things like that on your Facebook page to be able to see, okay, is this person being sarcastic or are they being genuine? And that can be a helpful way because you don't want to necessarily, engage with a sarcastic person because it's just, the whole idea of, don't argue with a fool because they'll bring you down to their level and beat you with experience. So just knowing that can be a really helpful way.
That's a good, I might need that printed somewhere in my office, I think. This has been great as always, Micah. We really appreciate you. Also, I want to remind everybody to join us next week because we have Randy Mayu doing an executive book briefing featuring the book Multipliers by Liz Wiseman, which is one of my personal favorites. So I am super excited to have you all back with us again. Also, I'd be remiss if I didn't say thanks to those who joined us last week at SGR Servant Leadership Conference. We had a great turnout and a lot of education, a lot of networking, and just overall a really great time. So thanks for everyone who was able to be there virtually or in person. And we appreciate you, and we'll see you again next week. Thank you so much, Micah.
Mm-hmm.